and his wife. Nobody. You are not married to your child. You are not married to your daughter, no matter how cute they are. Come on, wake up. You are just a temporal caretaker. That's all you are. The presence of children is not what defines a marriage. Hope you know. So if there are children or there are no children, your marriage should be intact. Genesis chapter 3, from verse 9 to 13. When the husband and the wife operated by revelation, there was so much unity in the house, such that it commanded the fellowship of heaven. Say, how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It says like the oil. There was grace, oil, and dew. Dew stands for, dew is morning in the morning. Fellowship. So when they stood together in unity, what happened? It provoked fellowship. God came down to fellowship with them on a daily basis. But in chapter 3, we now saw something. The Bible says God came as usual and began to look for them. Hey, Adam, where are you? He didn't find them. He now asked them, he said, I heard your voice and I went to hide. I heard your voice walking in the garden. How does voice walk in the garden? I heard your voice walking in the garden and I went to hide. God said, have you eaten of the fruit? I said, you say, yes. Then he started. Then the first problem in the marriage occurred. He said, it's the woman you gave me. When God asked the woman, he said, it's the serpent. Do you know that if that marriage was intact and they continued and allowed the flow of unity to capture them, perhaps we'll not be in this mess we're in now. What brought us to this place is failure of marriage. What brought this curse to the earth is that a marriage failed. When they were meant to look at themselves and admit, hey babes, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I did this. Okay, let's go to God and beg. Perhaps all of us will fall. But they were trading blames. Just as husband and wife here. You're hugging, fighting at home. When you begin to do that, what you are doing is you are giving ground for the enemy to take root in that home. That simple argument that occurred in Genesis chapter 3, it was put the entire earth in this mess today. Because not too long after that thing occurred, guess what happened? Genesis chapter 4, the first murder occurred. Because you will realize, Pastor G, they gave birth to Cain and Abel in chapter 4. Chapter 4 verse 1. The Bible says, and Adam knew his wife and she gave birth to Cain. So it means that the marriage had encountered a disaster, a rock, and they were trying to arrange it. Then family came in. When they gave birth to, because marriage is between man and wife. Family is man, wife, and children. The state of your marriage will determine the health of your family. That's why I started for marriage. It is the marriage that determines the state. The health status of your family is determined by the health status of the marriage. And the marriage is just two people. Listen to me, man. You are not married to your child. I see mothers in church. I see people, they are addicted to their children. Hi! Me and my wife are very conscious of that. If my kids talk to my wife, I say, don't ever talk to my wife like that. Like I will spank them, I will beat you if you talk to my wife like that. My wife will tell them. Because you must realize, the maximum you have with that child you want to kill yourself over is 20 years old. By 21, by 18, they're already telling you their own. They want to get out of your house. So when they go finish, you now back to square one. The person you abandoned all these years. Oh yeah, let's hear you build a peaceful home with the person. The marriage is between the man and his wife. Nobody. You are not married to your child. You are not married to your daughter, no matter how cute they are. Come on, wake up. You are just a temporal caretaker. That's all you are. The presence of children is not what defines a marriage. Hope you know. So if there are children or there are no children, your marriage should be intact. And the health of your marriage will determine what will happen in your family. That family life we are going to, that we want to talk about, it starts from the state of your marriage. That's why don't joke with your marriage. Your marriage is you and your wife. What is the state of the marriage between you and your wife? Some marriages are currently in a state of ruin. Don't worry. Chapter 4 is coming. You see, the impact of after Cain killed his brother, the Bible says, and Cain, out of anger, in verse 16, and Cain out of, is it 16 or 19? And Cain out of anger, he said, and he went out. Oh, I need us to read that place. I need us to read that place. Genesis chapter 4, verse 16. I want you to use Amplified Classic, then we'll read Amplified Classic, and then we'll use TPT. I want you to read it, because we are getting to the body of the message now. This is just, all that I was doing before was introduction. So yes, it says, so Cain went away from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod, wandering east of Eden. Now put TPT. Then Cain left the presence of Yahweh and journeyed to the land of wandering, east of Eden. What led him to wandering was a failure of marriage. Because it's easy for you to carry Cain and stone him. No, the problem is not Cain. The problem is not Cain. The problem was something that happened. An argument that occurred between a husband and a wife. That they didn't take time to settle, and the enemy took hold and began to destroy the family life. I don't care how powerful and prayerful you are, how many legs or hands you lay on your children. Your family will never know peace until the marriage is intact. Focus on your marriage and you will see the result. When your marriage is intact, you will see oil will flow. It's how good and pleasant it is for brethren to do what you do together in unity. Once you are one with your wife, you see oil will flow. Oil will flow. It's the direct way to make sure your family is intact. That's the beginning of how to build proper family life. Your marriage. Somebody say my marriage. And when Cain left, he began to expand evil. If you read the latter verse, go to that verse, I think 19, verse 19. God had to engage a replacement. The Bible says, and Adam knew his wife again, and she begat a man called what? Seth. And after Seth, Seth now begot a man called Enosh. And he says, and when Enosh came, the Bible says, and men began to do what? Call on the Lord alone. Hi. A replacement had to take place for men to begin to call on the name of the Lord. It says, I'll put it there. Verse 26, put it so I will read. And as for Seth, go to before so that you see when Seth came. That's 25. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and named him Seth. For God has appointed another seed for me instead of Abel, whom Cain killed. But so you see the replacement? Now it took on that generation. When I calculated the generation, I think it's about 7 or 8 generations after that replacement occurred. That God began to raise his own. The Bible says, and as for Seth, to him also a son was born, and he named him Enosh. Then men began to do what? Until Seth came, Cain had gone wandering. Cain had gone wandering. That's why you see the impact in Genesis chapter 6. It says, and God saw the wickedness of the heart of men. Cain left the presence of God and began to raise a generation, a rogue generation, a generation that did not want the control of God, a generation that will stand and begin to peg down things, unimaginable things. They are the ones that wanted to build Babel. Terrible generation. But the Bible says God began to institute a restitution, a replacement process. He first brought forth Seth. And when Seth came, Seth now produced. Will God be able to stand by your family, see a new generation that will call on the name of God? Friends, that's the reason why families exist. That's the reason why we have families. That was God's strategy. God's strategy from day one has not changed. His dominion, that he will colonize the earth again, that he will extend his kingdom on the surface of the earth by you and I. And the instrument which he will use to do that is your marriage. If your marriage survives and your marriage can produce men, if your marriage can provoke men to call on the name of God, I guarantee you, your family life will be in peace. Your family will know peace. Your family will know blessing.